Hey, so today when I was at work, I was like, hello to a customer, and he was like, hi. He was like, are you able to take my order? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, what can I get you? And then he's like looking at the menu board and he's like squinting. He's like, and I could tell, like, I guess he doesn't have his glasses or whatever, or he can't see the board. And he's like, can I get, and he like asks for one of the burritos. And then I'm like, oh, you can, but that's like the only burrito that my manager told me that like we don't have an ingredient for, which is rice. Like, we don't have any rice. And then he's like, oh, you don't have any rice? But rice is in the name of the burrito. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Instead of the rice, like, you can get lettuce. And he's like, aw. He's like, okay, can I have some more of like another vegetable that goes into it? And I'm like, sure, that works, like, whatever. He's like, can I have like a water cup? And I'm like, oh no. Like, once he said like water cup, I'm already like worrying to myself. I'm like, you mean like water in a cup? Or do you mean like the water bottle like in the fridge behind me? Because like anytime someone says water cup, like they always expect the water like cup to be free. And at like the restaurant that I work at, we charge for like a cup of water with like ice and stuff. I think the bottled drinks are like more. We used to have like little tiny cups that we would give out, but we don't have any like small cups anymore. So I'm literally like, anytime someone says like cup of water or anything, like I'm like getting ready for like an argument or like them to like get mean or rude or whatever. And like anytime I mention like the price, like people are like, for water? And like I could already like see a lineup coming, and this guy was like taking a while. He was like, I don't know, he was just like he was an interesting guy, a funny guy. So he's like, okay, how much is my total? And I tell him like his total, and he's like, ooh, like back in the day, like we should never charge for water, like blah blah blah. Prices were a lot like lower and everything, which I understand. And he's like, this was way back ago. Like, he's like, so if I tell you like that I'm like from the future or whatever, and like we don't charge for water or anything, and like I don't know, he told me like this elaborate like story about like him being from the future and whatever, and I'm just like laughing so hard, but I'm like trying to hold it in. I repeat his order and I'm like, so is this what you want and everything? And I like try to like hurry him along while also like holding in my laughter. But yeah, he was taking a while, and then like he was like, so are you still gonna charge me for that water? Like, I'm from the future or whatever, like we don't charge for water or whatever. So I'm like, yeah, like I still have to charge you for the water. Do you still want it? He's like, no, like I don't have money for that. Like, if you're gonna charge me, like, no. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take that off. Like, your total is blah 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 now. So then I hear the kitchen staff, and they're like, I think they called out his burrito. I told them like his total, and then like I'm like standing there like waiting for so long, and I'm like, is he gonna like take out his card or change or cash or whatever? And then like they're like, we already made it, because like they have to make like their like food and everything in like 2 minutes for like I think each order. So it was like already made, and I'm like, oh, okay, like I think he has, but it's just like he didn't give it to me yet. And they're like, oh, okay. And I'm like waiting for this guy, because I'm like seeing people like they're like waiting, and it's like I don't know, it's been a while, and they're like giving him like weird looks, and I'm like, I can't do anything about it, right? Like, I just have to like, you know, because each person, like, they can take however long or whatever. It's like, if they lined up, then it's like first come first serve, you know what I mean? So he like moves over, and he like dumps, or he's like digging through his bag, and I'm like, and he like some coins, and then he like dumps a bunch of coins on the counter, and I'm like, okay, like, and I visually like I see like he has enough. I think it was like 303 the total. And so I was like 303, and he's like, oh, he's like pointing, or he's like counting some quarters, like 1 2 3 4. I think he gave me like a toonie, so that was like $3. And then he was like, oh, he was pointing to like some pennies, but we don't take pennies anymore because they don't really exist. But they're like American pennies, and because I told him like the total was 303, but I was like 305, like because you have to round up, and like 3 is like in the middle, so you typically like round up. And he's like, here, like the $3, and then he gave me like the 2 pennies. He's like, and I'm like, oh, we can't take pennies anymore because like that doesn't exist anymore, and plus they're like US. And he's like, well, like, can't you just round down for me like $3? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, fine, like if like whatever. I could see like he has the 5 cents, but I'm like, okay, whatever, like it's just 5 cents or it's just 3 cents, and you can't really like give it anyway. So I'm like, okay, whatever, just round down to $3, like keep it moving so I could like take the next people like in line who are like waiting for so long. And he was honestly like a funny guy. I think he told me like a bunch of jokes and whatever. And he was fine. Like he was aware and stuff. He looked behind and like tried to like hurry up or answer my questions or whatever, but like he was taking a while, and like people were lining up, but like he only looked back like once, and then like the other times like I was like trying to like hurry him along, and I was like looking at like the other people, but he was, and then he moved his like coins and stuff because it was like a big pile of coins, and I was like, ooh, that's gonna take a while to like pick up. And he's like, I better like pick this up like before it like someone takes it. And then like I'm like, oh, okay. And then he's like, you know, people will grab, like, you know, where I'm from, like I saw a guy like get his hand bitten off it, and he did that, and I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. He's like, I saw someone like he's like, you ever see someone like get their hand bitten off? And I'm like, no. And then the kitchen staff, like, they call out for his burrito again, and he like quickly like picks up like the rest of his change, shoves it in his bag, and like moves over to like the pickup counter. He's like, he's like tells him, and I'm like, okay, next in line, like I can take your order or whatever. And I'm like busy with the people who were like waiting or whatever, and I'm like, but I can also like hear him at like the pickup counter, and he's like he tilts his head back, and he's like, can you just like pour some water in my mouth? Because he's like, oh, you charge for water, like the water cups or whatever. And he's like, can you just pour some like, and they're like no, and they're just like looking at him like, and he's like, this is my burrito, and they're like, yeah. And then he's like, oh, sayonara, and I'm like, he's like, and he does that again, and I'm like, oh my gosh.